Thank you. Will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, calling to order the regular council meeting for City of Medical Lake for August 18th, 2026.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doing a quick roll call, Councilmember Pritchard, Councilmember Ray Abbott, present, Councilmember Kennedy,
Present.
Councilmember Herbold,
Here.
and then we have some requests for to be excused. Councilmember Olson on vacation, asked to be excused tonight.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Any discussion on the? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, always, thank you. Secondly, Councilmember Spears also was on vacation, asked to be excused, entertain a motion there.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then finally, Councilmember Wilbur also asked to be excused because it's his birthday. Entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Wilbur.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Noting that with 3 excused absences, we do still have quorum before the remaining council members. Thank you for being here tonight. Approval of the agenda. I just had one little addition to the agenda, and unless anything else has also, but that would be under the staff reports. I would like to get a report from our senior planner, Elise Rodriguez, and that would be a briefing on the fueling station, and then also the swales project, and that will be DIII. And so any other changes or additions to the agenda?
Move to approve with the change.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Second from Councilmember Ray Abbott. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Agenda move forward as amended. This is opportunity for interested citizen comment and audience participation. Anyone online, I see there's nobody signed up to speak, but this is your chance. You can raise your hand. If you have anything you'd like to share, there'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. And so if you hear something of interest you'd like to have a little comment, we'll do that again at the end. Anyone online, please indicate by coming on screen and raising your hand. Going once, twice, 3 times, moving on. Again, you'll have another opportunity. Now for announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. There are none noted. We'll move on then to section 5 for future reports. It's our public safety report. Who would like to go first tonight, gentlemen? Okay, we will hear from Fire Chief Cody Rohrbach. Knowing that there's plenty going on that will call you away. And Terry, your communications officer, thank you for joining us tonight. And you also give one handout to our executive assistant, and she'll make sure that makes it in record. Thanks.
And I think everybody has met Terry Bunce, our
Yes.
public affairs officer.
Go ahead and introduce her. He's like,
Say hi, Terry.
Hi.
So thank you, Terry, as well as one of our fire commissioners is here tonight, Commissioner Tim Flo.
Good evening, Commissioner. Thank you both for attending. It's an interesting time. So Chief, tell us how things are going. And
Yeah, obviously been busy at the local level and of course regionally, state and national level. So I'll start at a high level and we'll zoom in. So nationally of the regions, we are the busiest region in the nation. So Washington, Oregon, with over 20,000 firefighters deployed. And at one point, about 2 weeks ago, every national incident management team available was deployed. So we had to delay some incidents receiving the incident management teams, but they were able to get those on a delayed response. And so one of those teams came in for the Spokane complex. If you watch the news at all, you saw California Incident Management Team 7. So they're one of the almost 40 teams across the the nation that travel to these large incidents and provide critical support. So of those, they've been fully committed. We're at what they call PL5, which is preparedness level 5, which is the highest preparedness level in the nation, meaning that we have robust commitment of resources across the nation. And so by mid-August, obviously long duration, resources have been going for a long time now with minimal rest and long shifts, so heavy commitment, extended duration, cumulative fatigue. So how do those things then impact us locally? So the good news as it relates to the Spokane area is that given the critical values at risk here, we do get prioritized. The Spokane complex became the #1 fire in the nation, which frees up critical resources to come meet our needs. I would like to highlight the great job that law enforcement as well as the firefighters did in that event, despite the very, very challenging circumstances, trying to get 67,000-ish people evacuated over just a few hours without loss of life. And so there's some models now projecting what the number of structures would have been without suppression modification. It's pretty staggering. Something like 11,000 structures would have been lost. So still very impactful with almost 800 lost across those 3 events, but really challenging conditions. I think most folks are probably aware, but the Old Trails fire was arson, and they have a suspect for that in custody. The California Incident Management Team has been in place for almost 2 weeks here, has now demobilized, and we're beginning that recovery phase that I know this group is familiar with. And so we're still extreme fire danger locally. We're just 2 days past the anniversary of Gray Fire, so still a lot of potential left in our fire season. Resources are positioned and ready to go. There has been a little reprieve in the weather with a lot of the incidents making good progress across our region. And so some of the incident management teams are going back down for a short R&R period to get ready for the next cycle. And so the good news is the days are getting shorter and the humidity recovery at night typically gets a little better, and our probability of rain going into September comes up. So we'll see what the rest of the season brings, but still a lot of firefighters deployed with a lot of potential. And then when we look at our overall call volume specific to Medical Lake, we now have July's data back. That was 84 calls, which is at the upper end. That's the most you've had all year. I did look a little to see what came from DSHS. They also had kind of their biggest month of the year as well, contributing to that, and that was 24 of those calls. So that accounts for part of that. And then in other news, we have an EMS levy that will be on the November ballot, and we put the preliminary information in front of this group. Our public facing information in detail goes out tomorrow morning at 0900. We wanted this group to see it first. We have our one you'll see titled 2026 EMS levy public information, and then you'll see another one with member talking points. And so we try to have a couple different versions depending on how much folks want to know, and we have an even more in-depth version that'll be available on our website. But I think most folks I talk to want to know a couple basic things. One being what will I get, and 2 being what will it cost. And so we put some tables in there so you can see the approximate cost based on assessed valuation, which is how the levy works. So for every $100,000 of assessed property, it's about $50 annually, or just over $4 per month. And so what folks will get with that is 14 additional firefighters, full-time firefighters, to staff 2 additional stations around the clock. And what we're seeing right now with Medical Lake and Four Lakes as our only full-time staff stations is a lot of pressure being placed on them to provide coverage across the rest of the geographic area. And so that takes quite a toll on the volunteer response, because what they're their workload is currently unsustainable. They're going to more calls every year, but they're missing more calls every year because the call volume as it's increasing is running away from them. So they make more calls every year, but we miss more calls with the volunteers. And so I call it the pressure relief valve, are those career staff stations that when those volunteers aren't able to make it, they go out. And so we're seeing them doubled up a lot where there's a secondary call coming in, and then we're seeing them pulled often, all the way down to Spangle and pulling them out of position. And so this is really focused at the line level, putting additional firefighters in stations around the clock, 24/7 across the area. And so we have a lot more information. We will come and do probably a PowerPoint and take some Q&A from you guys as well, but want to make sure this group's really informed. That's really our goal, is the education to our entire community and help them understand what we're trying to achieve. Any comments or questions for me?
So this is in addition to what's currently on the books.
Correct. So,
When does it expire?
so this is a 6-year levy, and then the first time's a supermajority for it to pass. So
And the existing one expires when?
it doesn't expire, but it's $1.50 that continues.
Oh,
And it's subject to the 1% limiter, so you'll
Yes,
see the amount
yes.
come down and then levy it.
So we're not operating off of the levy now. We just have the standard
Fire levy now.
standard fire that continues. This is new, and we haven't had passed this before.
Correct.
Right.
We're the only agency of our size in county without an EMS levy. And it's really indicative of where we're going with what's been historically a primarily volunteer response model. And so the financials change when you move to career 24/7 staffing
Was this,
around the clock.
was this on the ballot last?
It's
Year, 2
been
years?
once before. It's been several years. It got 55%, about 54.7-ish, somewhere in there last time, but the first time requires a super majority. So.
And is that 66 or something?
Six
60 is, okay, okay. Okay,
Yeah, so please go through the documents, and if you have questions now, happy to answer them, but we also want to come back for an in-depth.
What was the cause of the Lakeland Village fire? We know.
I do not have a cause yet, but have been talking with investigators.
Hmm.
So they have some leads. And so they'll have a process that they for.
so glad that was put out
Yeah,
quickly.
thank you.
We're so grateful. The few fires that have popped up here recently, put out quickly, even on windy day, when we had out here on, off of McFarland. Anyway, it's just the response and the suppression efforts. We're just so grateful. So.
Yeah, they had a really good stop at Espanola the same day as Old Trail. So firefighters did a really good job getting that
They sure-
stopped. The Ben Apple, for folks who follow that, 11 different sets. So they have detained a person related to those. So the
Exactly.
investigators are doing really good work right now, but unfortunately, there's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about percentage of calls missed. Do you actually have a number? What percentage of calls are missed?
Yeah, I can actually show you what's currently running for this year. So it varies by station. So of the volunteer stations, when they're toned out, 33%, 33.13 is our running average for the year that they're unable to get a response out of their station. So context is important. With that number, it doesn't mean nobody's coming, because we have 24/7 battalion chief as well as response chief that folks maintain coverage. But it means out of that local station that they requested a resource, which would be the closest effective resource. 33% of the time on average, they are not able to get
Quickest response.
they don't even respond.
There was no response.
Yeah, and so what you see is you start to approach, north of 200, 300, 400 calls at a volunteer station. That's a lot to ask of folks that are doing already working one or more jobs, you know, it's almost a daily request to respond to an emergency. And so what I also want you to know is they're making a lot of calls. They're responding to a lot of calls, but what's really going on is the workload is outpacing the workforce.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to more calls than they've ever gone to in history, and we have more volunteers than we've ever had in history. Yet that hockey stick curve is running away from them. And so that's what's really driving the need to get career staffing, because what we want to do is take that call volume and get it down to a manageable level, and then really have a robust workforce for the large incidents and a more manageable workload for the volunteers. And so it's really not to replace the volunteer response model, it's to enhance it.
Yeah.
And make that right size that workload.
Well, it's so important, you know, that's what happened when we had just our own volunteer staff here before we regionalized, and you know, it eventually the response time was so poor, and someone did die. And I
Yeah,
don't
you guys
wanna
have lived this.
we've lived it, and we need to keep that fresh in our mind and not let history repeat itself, that Medical Lake, you know, is so appreciative that you're here, and it's just been such a remarkable difference.
Yeah, and hopefully folks, right, are able to see what those additional.
Memories
Firefighters do.
haven't,
Yeah.
you know, faded, and so anyway, okay, well, that's all I had to say, but any other questions from council or comments? Well, we appreciate you so much, and yeah, we look forward to you coming back and presenting when the full council is here, and before that November ballot. So.
Thank you. Yeah, and I really hope you'll dig into that and see what any questions you may have, and we're also open to input if you think there'd be something, a better way to explain it or an additional question. And like I mentioned, there'll be a really in-depth on the webpage for folks who want to.
Long.
Yeah.
All pages of FAQ, if you want to dive into it.
Very good, very
Our
good.
goal is to be really transparent. It's not to get somebody to yes or no. It's to get them really educated and understand what they're voting on. And then, you know, if they're educated and informed, they vote yes, great. They vote no, great. We did our job. So that's, Terry's really working hard to get that information.
Our two biggest concerns that we want to make sure the public understands, when you see an EMS levy and their major concern is fire, our answer is that we provide EMS through fully qualified all hazard firefighter EMTs or firefighter paramedics. So by, you know, this EMS levy would fund 14 full-time firefighters that can respond to anything. So helping them understand it's not just an EMT on an ambulance only able, that would the system that we have help all of their concerns, whether that's a hazmat
Or
or.
fire calls everywhere, every day,
The
yes.
statutes require, right, and you list it as EMS, so a lot of folks get confused and think, well, that's only medical. It's all hazard, full-time firefighter, paramedics, or firefighter
Well,
EMT.
and anyone who's been in the government business all knows that, you know, 90% of your calls are all medical.
Yeah.
That's most of what you do. The
Well, you-
firefighting is
We
really
run,
the
right,
smallest part, the most. When
There.
we need it's critical, but really it's, the medical, so.
79% is where we currently sit,
Yeah.
yeah, so pretty high proportion.
And secondly, we're wondering if anybody potentially who did benefit from the staffing of 311 and 33 might say, well, what's in it for me? The answer is that, you know, due to the call volume, sometimes those assets are being called out down to Spangle, down south towards Cheney or Williams Lake. So we hope that by staffing that southern portion, we're able to keep your resource closer to your first due where those emergencies happen. So it would lift all ships with the 4 corners model.
That's great.
So if you're.
It'd be
public
great
access.
to, you know, the attention span of the social media world, but anyway, but getting those little sound bite, like those little video clips, like
Yes.
for each one of those FAQs, hey, here's what we think, here's how you think about that, or here's how you tell that story. I think it would be helpful. I just saw a presentation recently that took FAQs and just made these little soundbite videos, and you're probably already doing it, but I was impressed. I'm like, next level. I like that because that's really.
You'll see that on our page
Listen more than-
mid-September till the levy. I have a week of Cody's time booked for. So
We're really like filming,
Yeah,
exactly that.
I love it. I love it.
But we really just want to give folks perspective. Four Legs, 10 years ago, 300 calls. Last year, 1,700.
Yeah,
Right,
that's more than the hockey stick. That's almost straight up.
it is, and that's what, right, that was a volunteer station 10 years ago. Right, and now it's worked hard for a career around the clock staff station. And they're down in Spangle, they're getting pulled a long ways as that pressure relief to ensure, right? When you see that 33%, well, we're going, right? But it's that career staff station or that battalion chief that's covering that. And we're not able to get that vehicle out of the closest station. So that's what this is.
Okay. I sure appreciate it. More to come, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, chief.
Um. You want Grant, and welcome, and thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Good evening. So, Sheriff's Office, we've been very busy with the Spokane Complex fires as they proceeded as well. We had a very large portion of the evacuation process that took place, along with every other area agency. But the fires touched, all three of the fires touched county jurisdiction. So we had personnel at all the fires doing evacuations. And then for the duration of the evacuation zones, we had people both looking for looters and people that weren't supposed to be in those areas, as well as trying to man checkpoints in conjunction with the National Guard to try and keep people out of those evacuation zones, so our crews could be working and the utilities could be restored and we get back to some sense of normalcy. But I think it's worth mentioning, Mayor Cooper, that was about 2 months ago that you hosted a meeting. DEM was here, DSHS was here, fire was here, and law was here, and we're planning for just these events. Unfortunately, we had the Upriver Fire kickoff later that day. We didn't know it'd be quite that tight of a time window where we'd be employing some of this stuff, but we talked in that meeting a lot about some of the lessons learned from Medical Lake, how processes have changed. In our agency, deputies received additional training. There's technology that was being employed. When we responded to Upriver, we were in a better spot than we were when we responded to Medical Lake.
Absolutely.
We learned things from Upriver. We debriefed Upriver. We've improved upon the improvements. And so then when we had the Spokane Complex fire, it's not all lost, all for naught. We're continuing to improve and get better with these experiences, and we're working better with our fire districts. And I think I just want to thank you for your leadership on that, for seeing that. Additionally, what came out of that meeting is DSHS talked about when they have any type of hazard at the state level, they have their own incident management teams that they're putting into action. And so since that meeting, there's, I think, twice that they've had threat incidents where they've employed those incident management teams. And so we kind of have a better understanding of what is going on their side of the phone when they're calling and what they need from us and what they're trying to accomplish. And so I think that relationship is even better and grown through some of this collaboration. I did want to provide a little bit of an update on the cameras that were installed as well here locally earlier this summer. They're all fully operational. Our real-time crime center are the ones who are watching the cameras the most. They are part of our network of cameras across the county. And as jurisdictions add those cameras, we just get a better and better view of what's going on in the community. And it gives them the opportunity when we have a hot call or an incident that is moving on us to be able to kind of hop around these cameras and see if we can get a view to give real-time information to the responding units to have situational awareness. And it's helped us to be able to capture folks that probably would have gotten away otherwise by just seeing them on this camera and they're going this way and they're checking other cameras. Oh, there's the car now, it's going south on this road. And and being able to zone in and just vector in on people who are trying to get out of the area. Here locally, it has solved one incident that was at the park where the retaining wall was vandalized. Some kids had taken stones out of the retaining wall and placed them into the water. I don't know what they were doing, but we would have never identified who they were, but the video was recorded. The investigators were able to go back and identify the kids. So, and one thing I didn't know, one of the analysts at the Real Time Crime Center, actually one of the supervisors, he has a motion alert for the cameras that have access to the park. And so anytime that there's any motion while the park is closed, it sends an alert to his account. And so even if it happens overnight, he's checking those in the morning. Most of the time, you'll be happy to know it's a sprinkler that went off or a dog running through, something like that. But if we had something, it will give us that perspective. Wednesday through Saturday, we have an analyst staffing the Real Time Crime Center until 12. So those alerts are also going in real time to them. So if we were to have an incident or have a group of people go after hours into the park, they would be able to put cameras on that, assess the situation, and call patrol resources when necessary. I think that is the end of my report, unless anyone has any questions.
We're grateful for that. Just thankful, for the coordination of police and fire and no loss of life in the Spokane complex. It was, of course, deja vu for all of us. We live this, we know it, and it was just, excellent. And I immediately, as it rolled out, I thought of 10 things that were improved from when we had the Glen Road fire, because everybody put new systems in place. Everyone did, and from the state down, and laws have been passed and policy changes made, and all the things that we worked together to ask for have been implemented. Even the emergency response notification system, completely new system, it worked, and so just everybody took it up a level, and we'll learn from this one too, and we'll keep taking it up a level. And so I'm just really grateful. Ronnie Brick, I'm surprised you're here tonight. Glad you are.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing us the report, and just pass our gratitude along to your team that we just have such confidence in our public safety system that we have here between police and fire, and really grateful. And we love the cameras. Crime solved already. But if we can catch the little stuff, the big stuff kind of stays away. And
That's
I like
great.
that. So, any questions though from council?
Gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
God's hand was on it and kept the responders safe, kept the community safe, and pre-planning and everything we did. It was very hectic, and we had a plan and people knew what to do, and I saw leadership out of some of our staff who have had the benefit of experience and some of the additional training, passing some of that along in real time to other agencies that have, fortunately, unfortunately, not had as much exposure to it, and it improved their responses too. And so, with as much loss as there was on the monetary side, it may sound odd, but we're really fortunate the way that went.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the modeling. I was in the meetings when they were sharing that modeling, and it's just incredible. Same with Gray Road Fire when they modeled that out. What if the wind hadn't shifted? There goes this entire South Hill. I mean, it's just that real. And so suppression helps. And the other great thing, and I don't know if anyone from Fairchild is listening or available, but I would say my gratitude to the governor, that one of the big things that changed was that deploying the National Guard immediately. So after the Gray Road Fire, I'm like, why? We needed the National Guard. We're trying to go door to door. We were in this inferno, and they can only be here a little while. And then they were called off, and they said, well, that's because you didn't ask. I was like, we shouldn't have to. That's your job to know. And it happened. So I was just so many things. I could go on and on, but just grateful. So thanks, and we'll learn more and keep going and, you know, all those great things. So, all right, well, thanks for your time, and don't feel like you need to stay. I know you have other things to do, but
One thing I will add that I've neglected to mention with the camera system, it isn't confined to just the real-time crime center. The deputies in the field have access to a program called Fuses, which they can bring up the cameras in the car. And so we've done that in the field. Obviously, it's not recommended for the deputies who are actually responding and driving, but if you have a supervisor, somebody can pull over and start accessing cameras and providing that information over the radio to respond to units. We've seen that work in real time as well. It's a good system.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
We'll
too.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Bye, Terry. So we'll move on then to committee reports and, council, comments and reports. Councilmember Pritchard, what's on your mind tonight?
So Bluegrass Festival, no longer on the organizing committee, but volunteered, and people still came out, went anyways with the smoke. I think the people in the real-time crime center probably had a better seat than I did with just talking and not having a mask on. But it sounded great. People were there. It was a good, beautiful park. We did cancel the Geo Walk with the county just due to the smoke. And Steve agreed with that completely. On Thursday, we had a county housing and community development meeting. There were 4 people from the Medical Lake area that commented at the end of the meeting. The meeting itself was just kind of talking about how funds are kind of delayed this year. So a lot of that housing programs that are happening are about 6 months behind just because funding is not coming through. But the 4 people that came and talked at the end were concerned, and rightly so, about the $44 million that went to the county, and is that still going to Gray Road Fire? And nobody's talked to them about that. And everybody, HCAC says still for the Gray Road and Oregon Road Fire, and that money is still there for that. One of the biggest concerns I heard was down trees, like trees that might fall over in the wind if they're burnt. And that is definitely on the list for the money as they let that money out to people to bid for it. That is there for sure. There was a comment too about the money being used for a sporting venue, but I've talked to everybody that I know and nobody knows about this. I don't know what that is. But that money would not go to anything.
I would say that the money cannot go
Yeah, I don't.
to any, special projects, and that the money is the county's to control. And the guidelines are within that HUD guidelines. And that, the county, basically there's one contract with ink on the paper about a week ago, and that's for the Navigator. And that's for the community outreach to cast that broad net, and we'll see that outreach happening. And the other thing on that came up after you called me and talking to folks is the misunderstanding that the county got a check for 44 million and somehow it came to Medical Lake or it's gone to another organization. There are no dollars. There's a contract that says if you spend up to 44 million on this within these parameters, you can get reimbursed for it. And so it's a complete reimbursement model. And same with any contract that would go out from the county to anyone who would bid on an RFP or an RFQ. It's a reimbursement. That organization spends their own money and then says, we think we spent it properly. Will you reimburse us? So that's the accountability piece. And it sure makes it a lot longer. And maybe the incentives to actually start rolling that out. Maybe there's no, the incentive really isn't there. So because it's expensive and it's going to take a while. So anyway, just a couple comments on that because you did reach out to me and I thought it was important to share that with the public. That there really isn't any. As far as I know, there has not been one reimbursement made yet on those dollars. So.
Yeah, but people they're not forgotten about our community.
No, and to your point, Spokane fire happened and then you think, oh, that money can then now go there because it's bigger and it's a bigger problem. It cannot. It can only be spent for Gray Road Fire. Folks are not going to be forgotten. That money will eventually roll out to them. And then whatever happens with Spokane complex fire will be different. And I would caution let's try not to compare, that something happened better or bigger or whatever. That's the whole idea, is we get better at this, that maybe the response is gonna change. And it'll be different, depends on who funded it, how they want the money spent, the political climate, you know, where the money came from. So we received more for the Gray Road fire than any other disaster in Washington state history. So our folks went to work for us, and it's just gonna take a bit for that to get out. But anyway, it helps to keep clarifying that Gray and Oregon Road fire folks are the designated recipients of that, and it will happen.
Yeah, so if there are people here that have questions about that, please do ask me, because I do go to the housing and community development meetings, and it'd be nice to know if I can help with anything.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then also, we talked last time about the No Name Ditch coming off Fairchild. We're trying to support Fairchild and cleaning that up, because it's the largest point source in the West Plains for polyfluorinated alkaline substances like a toxic material. And I was just thankful the West Plains stream, they ran an ad on that. I'm starting to get phone calls from quite a few people, a lot of emails, so it's very supportive.
Thank you for your work on both of those things. It's super important. And thanks for being a great representative
Don't try
for
it.
medical aid.
Great city.
It is a great city. Yes,
I'm an expert.
he is the expert. We're so grateful you're sitting here.
What's going in the corner? Out there by the ditch.
So I
Oh,
didn't hear.
I mean, you can ask about the corner by No Name Ditch. I believe Administrator Weathers is talking about road construction for the most part, roundabout, straight up the Craig Road.
That's gonna be a roundabout right there?
What I've seen is that Inland Power and Light owns that property and they are preparing to move their resources out of the way for the roundabout that the county is gonna build at that intersection.
I apologize. That's completely derailed our public government meeting today too.
Sorry.
No, it's good. That's deja vu.
You can take
That's
this
good.
with Spokane County
That's right.
Public Works Department. So anyway, very good. Councilmember Ray Abbott, anything for the good of the order. Councilmember Kennedy.
Finance committee met and found no difficulties in the finances of the week. So other than that, no report.
Just think of the spelling of that in the minutes. No difficulties. Okay, thank you. I love that, the word of the day. And thank you for covering for me my illness for the last council meeting. So I sure appreciate you. Thank you. Councilmember Harville.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Honor. I get the privilege of public safety and general government, as Ted bailed on us tonight. The meat and potatoes of public safety was already addressed by Under Sheriff Lundgren and Chief Rohrbach. The only additional public safety information Scott brought forward was that we're working on reclaimed water issues. And as we move forward in those discussions, we're going to rely on our good relationship and communication with CSS as we move forward on that. Then on to general government, we've got the budget retreat that the email full went out for. I saw just before I left that my date chosen was at 17%. I want you to look that up.
Please answer the poll.
Yeah. We've got some upcoming workshops. We got fireworks code amendments that's coming up. Some draft legislative priorities, both federal and state. Comprehensive plan periodic update. We're down to our last remaining items on that, which is great. And utility rate study, hopefully on the next meeting. Maybe talk about that at our next meeting. And then we're finishing up with scrub seal, starting on the 24th. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes.
And the FEMA generators have all been installed, fully tested, fully installed, fully tested and functional. And then stormwater mitigation finalization plans are ongoing. That's it.
That's a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to Sonny, your leadership, and to all those who have been working on those projects. It's so much work, and it's easy to come and talk about it in one fell swoop, and then it's like, that's been months and months of work. So we appreciate you. So thank you for the continued good work. My report, I think most of what was on my mind was covered tonight. And so I'm just going to move on. Mr. Weathers, another report for us, and then also give us a capital improvement project status, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, the budget retreat poll, just to foot stomp that, if you haven't responded yet, we're thinking ahead this time, so it's less,
2 weeks.
less of a
early.
last minute, request and more, giving more time. Looking forward to that. It'll be a very meaningful time between the utility rate study and the capital improvement project and our budget planning. Lots to discuss and, get your input for, so. Yeah, please let us know what time works best so we can accommodate the majority of you. For my report, I want to recognize, like what the mayor was saying, the outstanding work that's being accomplished across the organization. We're concurrently advancing 10 capital improvement projects while simultaneously undertaking an internal utility rate study. We're implementing departmental work plans. We're preparing for the 2027 budget development cycle, and all of these things are heavy lifts. And it has been a long and arduous effort, but it's developing on the priorities that you've set forward and the direction that you've set. And it's really encouraging to see the benefits that come to the community from that. So lots happening, and just really encouraged by that. So speaking of all that's happening, we'd love to give you this quick, I do have a presentation that we could pull up with too much information on a few slides related to these capital improvement projects. Happy to answer any questions you have, but just really wanted to be able to give you an update on all the things that are happening. So we'll start with the 2026 street preservation program. I'm going to give a little bit of a cadence with these things. So I'm going to talk about scope and schedule and budget, and then watch items. So the scope of this is to preserve and extend the life of city streets through pavement repair and preservation treatments and scrub seal applications. The schedule, construction has been underway, and the county crews are coming, as Tony mentioned earlier, next week to start to do the fog seal on there. Which is the final phase of that project, and the project closeout will follow construction completion. As far as the budget goes, the project is funded primarily through a TIB grant with a small city match, and there have been no budget concerns related to this project. Watch items, obviously, as we do finish this up, we'll be considering traffic control, resident notifications. And then Costa's favorite thing is the grant reimbursement documentation and financial closeouts. He's really looking forward to closing out some of these grants. So that takes care of street preservation. Any questions, concerns on that? All right, moving on to the next would be the STA Route 62 bus stop improvements. Scope is to improve transit accessibility through ADA compliant bus stops, ramps, and shelter upgrades. The schedule is complete. STA is completed and the facilities are in service. The budget was fully funded by STA. No city financial contribution was required. And no watch items to request there. I would just say that to give credit to STA, this project, the 8 bus stops that they worked on, overall project costs of $250,075. So a great investment. We're grateful for the investment of STA to improve those bus stops. Mayor Cooper has asked that we do look at some ways that we can improve bench and seating and shelters potentially where they didn't come through this recent investment. And so I'm doing some homework, and we'll bring a report to what options we have and what you might like to do. And it'd be a great talking point for our budget retreat, which we just need to know when the best time to have that is. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, just to offer it with this as well, that there was some design and permitting and coordinated through STA and Kaufman Engineers in the city, which talked about the ADA deployment, the curb and the sidewalk and the bus pads and the State Route 902 and James Street interface requirements. So there was a little bit of engagement and work from the city, but all in all, a great investment that cost us nothing.
Wonderful.
Questions or comments on bus stops?
Have you looked at the bus stops over by Pepper Park? They had taken the sign down. And then they just recently put one back up in the middle of the sidewalk, like it's blocking the sidewalk.
And
And I thought it was odd. And so I-
Pepper Park, you said?
Yeah,
Pepper Park one, okay,
there's one on each side of the street at Pepper Park.
interesting.
Yeah, they had a, like,
So they split the difference, put the pole in the middle and now it's in the way.
it's
These are mobile.
literally in, like, we were there and there's a lady that takes that bus every day and she's on in a wheelchair. And so my husband and I were like, how's that gonna
Did
work?
they just put them up?
Yeah.
Yes. They just put them up.
I think Scott will take.
'Cause it was a
picture
board.
for us and
It was
Yeah, I didn't
the
see that,
sign,
yeah,
you know,
also.
the caution.
Oh,
Yeah.
temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, well, thanks for bringing that up. We'll look into it and see, what we can do.
I'm
Betcha. All right, next slide should be the ADA access to the Fox Hollow Trail at Tara Lee. So scope on this is to construct an ADA compliant sidewalk and a ramp connection between Tara Lee and the Fox Hollow Trail. This is on the, what side is that? The north side of Shepherd, Field. The schedule for that, so funding was secured and the project is moving towards construction scheduling. So we've had our public works team pretty busy this over the summer, and they're going to be doing a lot of the prep work. But good news is we got below budget bid for the ADA ramp sidewalk effort, and then we'll be able to do the work to get that concrete sidewalk from that ADA ramp to the trail, which is pretty exciting. So budget for that, WCA awarded us a $15,000 grant, and City Crews will be providing some in-kind preparation and grading for that project. Couple watch items related to that is meeting grant deadlines and completing reimbursement reporting and coordinating construction with the available work window. So this should be done by the end of the year for sure, but our last reporting window is kind of the end of September. So we should have some progress and a plan to show them how we'll get to completion on that. And yeah, any questions on that? Okay, next one, I just combined a bunch of them together here for the backup generator projects. Scope on that is providing backup power for critical facilities, including our wells, City Hall, the Public Works Building, and the wastewater treatment plant. The schedule is that we have both of our well generators are operational, and the additional facilities are in the testing phase. We've got them set up. Other than the wastewater treatment plant generator, which is pending some final installation pieces, and then that will get tested as well. The budget for this is a FEMA funded project through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, totaling approximately $799,000. The city has a 12.5% match, which is just shy of $100,000. A couple watch items is the final commissioning. Obviously, we want to make sure everything's working properly before we let the contractors off the hook for all 5 sites. And let's see, grant reimbursements. So this is federal money, a lot of reporting requirements, and a lot of that is in process. And then addressing a funding gap. So there was a gap between when we got the grant awarded and when we had the bid assigned. The value changed. It was almost a year plus between those times. And so we're working with FEMA trying to see if there's an opportunity for them to cover some of that. And otherwise, we'll look at a variety of options to cover that cost as well. Questions on that? Okay. Next one is our Coney Island Park Shoreline Stabilization and Dock Project. Scope is to stabilize the shoreline and improve public access and fishing opportunities and waterfront recreation in our downtown park at Coney Island. As far as the schedule goes, we are beyond 90% complete and on track to have this wrapped up. The topsoil is down, the parks are back working on the seeding and the watering to get things greened up there again, but yeah, generally, it's put together. And we're also looking at ways to add railing to the pier. So we're exploring some options there. As far as the budget goes, the project remains within the overall funding capacity, but it will require council consideration of a budget amendment for the change orders that came through with that. A few watch items to consider, completion of the final work, the inspections and punch list items, and then the approval of that budget amendment to authorize the additional expenses for the change orders. Questions or concerns? Okay, next one's the auditorium commercial kitchen. And on this one, you'll see the end work is yellow because we've had some challenges. But the scope is to create a fully functional commercial kitchen, support community programming and events and economic development opportunities. Schedule, the project transition to a city managed delivery model, and it remains, we're making progress moving for an October completion target at this point. Exciting that some of the specialized inspections related to the kitchen, as far as the hood and the fire suppression in the hood, that has passed inspection, so that's great. We're working on getting plumbing and electrical contractors scheduled to finish their work, and then we can see the equipment get installed and move towards an opening. Budget, approximately $222,000 has been expended in that project, with some ARPA funding remaining to complete that project. Watch items are contract coordination, sequencing of those specialty trades, and then the required inspections through the health department and then the building side. And yeah, any questions?
And the person from Rooted has already started, right?
Correct. We do have, the kitchen consultant is started and is building a lot of those programs and deliverables. We're part of that contract, been in a lot of the paperwork together and rental agreements and helping to design the different ways that facility can be used. Yeah.
She's having weekly meetings with the staff to make sure that they're coordinating and we understand the work that's being done and that we can, the handoff and where's the bright line between the work she's doing and support from the city staff. So that's been great. And I want to say too, when we met with our federal delegation this week, we brought up the incubator kitchen. They go, oh yeah, during economic development, that's a common thing that cities and counties are doing it to be a stimulant for the economic development in their community. And so we kind of great, that we're doing that. And I guess a newer thing, but it was also great that it's recognized as a stimulant, economic development stimulator. So yeah, anyway, I felt good about that after the meeting. I was like, oh, all right, so we're doing something right. Thanks.
Okay, moving on, Medical Lake Stormwater Mitigation Project. So this is the bioinfiltration swales that'll go in the different sites around Medical Lake to help treat that water before it gets in. It's a lake water quality scenario. So that's going to improve lake water quality by treating the stormwater runoff before it enters Medical Lake through bioinfiltration and related best management practices. Schedule is that we recently executed the grant agreement with Commerce for the $970,000 state appropriation. The project is currently in design and environmental review. I think we're talking about it at the next planning commission meeting. There's a hearing to address that, and then we'll start working on permitting and I'm trying to get some of that work initiated with a contractor, getting the bid out. Budget, it's supported right now by that $900 million grant, and then some local matching funds. The additional funding, of course, when we initially had this project out, it was a $1.2 million project for the whole scope. It has been 3 years since we drafted that, and there's been a few changes to the design as far as how we can deal with stormwater around Coney Island Park, trying to get that not have to take the park out of service to have an infiltration swale. And so those changes, really now we're looking at more like a $1.4 million overall project. And so we're pursuing some grant funding to help us finish funding that project and deliver it. And so excited about the opportunities that have come available that show that project as highly eligible. And our Capital Path Consulting team is helping to write the grant to see if we can secure that those funds. Questions or concerns on the stormwater mitigation? Okay, next would be the wastewater treatment headworks and PLC and SCADA upgrade. The scope is to modernize some critical wastewater treatment controls and monitoring and alarms and system redundancy because we want that to work. The schedule is that recently there was a contract amendment that was approved. We're working on the installation and testing and commissioning. All those are still underway. As far as the budget goes, we've executed controls contracts totals that are around $77,000 for both of those things. And then city purchased equipment just shy of $60,000. And I would note that originally this project was estimated to be a $400,000 project when it was originally approved. It was amended down to 150, and we're still well below that project total at this point. Couple watch items relating to that. The equipment lead times can be challenging. The electrical installation coordination and testing and commissioning. It's very critical that all those things are aligned and working with the programs and the electrical stuff. So it's complicated work, but it is all underway, and we're excited about the benefit of learning so much from those automations and how that can inform future upgrades at the treatment plant. Any questions on that one? Okay, next one is also wastewater treatment plant. It's the ultraviolet disinfection upgrade. Scope on that project is to replace obsolete ultraviolet disinfection equipment and to improve treatment reliability and efficiency. The schedule is that grant funding has been approved. We just got the actual execution of the DocuSign wrapped up earlier today. So, and we have some engineering and design and procurement work that's taking place through the agreement that you authorized with Esfelt Engineering. The budget on that is a $450,000 total project cost, which is split evenly between state appropriation and city match. So we had previously identified the full value in reserve restricted funds. And then we got a generous appropriation from the state legislature last session to fund half of that project. So a couple watch items for that is the procurement timelines and regulatory approvals and then maintaining reimbursement eligibility. But I keep promising costs that this one will be a quick and easy scenario.
As they always say that.
And then the last project is our fiber to City Hall. And the scope on that is to install fiber connectivity to improve City Hall communications and reliability, cybersecurity and operational resilience. The schedule is that we have the physical infrastructure on site and it's connected, substantially complete, and the project is moving through final activation and testing. This had a budget of $50,000. It came in a little bit more than that, but we're anticipating some revenues in the broadband fund that will cover that. So we won't be at a negative. And so watch items for you is that we need to get a service activation and ownership of maintenance responsibilities and some cybersecurity verification and closeout documentation. So what that generally means is we're looking for providers and we're shopping. We're going to get some good estimates and bids, and we'll bring that before you for approval so we can hire the right firm and watch our broadband bandwidth expand. It's going to be lovely.
Yeah.
Questions or concerns on that? Right, so that is a short update on all the status of the variety of things that we have going on in the city.
Yeah, just a few things. So we sure appreciate it. Managing all of that is huge. Doing it is huge. Trying to manage all the financing side of it, is incredible work. And then, of course, Roxanne managed all the contracts, like the mayor really signed that today. So anyway, we really appreciate it. It takes a team. And this team is working incredibly hard and with great efficiency and with purpose and intent. And I speak for the council, I know, to say we're so grateful, for your leadership and the work that's been done. It's just remarkable. So anyway, thank you so much. And so I guess we'll move on then to, our code enforcement officer, Dave Uhas, is going to give us a report on the 2026 second quarter code enforcement report. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So we got. This is quarter two's report. I'm keep it short and sweet because I think there's still a bunch of stuff on the agenda, just the way it is. That's just the title slide. That's sort of the meat and potatoes of it. All right, 109 cases at that point. Civil infractions 2.1%, violation letters about 20%, 77% are ones that are just easily closed or not really going anywhere. You'll notice that the business pie is a little bit bigger this time around. It's because I've been investigating out there. There's a lot of businesses like I talked about last time. For the most part, I think people make a mistake and they put their address down as a business in Medical Lake, and it's not an address. It's their business is somewhere else and they have a registered agent. So it's been sorting that out, but it does take some legwork to look into it. So I mark that as a case. Animal related issues have been kind of popping up, and vehicle related issues. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Obviously, the majority is property related, people complaining about their neighbor's property or on view of property, things like that. City employees telling me about a property and I'll inspect it. At the second quarter close, we had 68% of the cases closed. And there was a point when I was feeling like I played baseball because I was closing. I was closing cases left and right. It was looking really good, but then a few more just popped up and got open to me. So got a good number of them on watch right now as well. So pretty standard numbers for what we get around here. Next slide going forward. Obviously, we're going to focus on voluntary compliance. And Sunny and I spoke about some outreach to the community with yard vegetation. And that really boils down to alley maintenance and right-of-way maintenance and how we're going to look at our code and say, well, this is kind of how it reads, and help people to understand that part of the maintenance that they're required to do as property owners in the city. We're all on edge when it comes to fire danger and fire hazard, and vegetation has been an issue. And I'm sure you saw in May how fast the green stuff grew, and it shot up. And if you didn't chop it down then it just got bigger. And now let's think about how it looks. We have alleys and properties in the city that are tinder boxes, and they're making it difficult for the firefighters to do their job, because when these things get going, the alleys move along the field. The next thing you know, we have a big problem. So getting people to build that defensible space around their property and maintain alleys, things like that, may be a little bit of a challenge. And like I said, Sunny has worked on that verbiage and how we're going to go forward with that. So let's see what else. We definitely have some issues with unoccupied, unsafe structures, things like that. And some of the things that I want to see going forward in the future is some code changes relating to people parking their vehicles on their front lawn. I think that just doesn't have a good look for the city. And I know that that's something that you'd get maybe with a homeowners association in the CCNRs, things like that, but that's not everywhere in the city. And I think that needs to be kind of something we brand as not an okay thing to have. Boats, RVs, trailers, parked in alleys, on the right of ways, and and streets. So they can be pretty busy. And anyone who lives in Fox Hollow knows, or Fox Ridge knows how tight those streets are. And you get someone who has their boat on one side, another guy has a big pickup truck on the other. Now the school bus is having a hard time navigating. So in the future, I think those are things we need to really look at. Not only is it just for how things look, it's for safety down the road as well. So hopefully in the future, we can have that vegetation ordinance too. I think that's going to be important. Maybe you got to trim your hedges or overgrown weeds when they get above 6 inches, something like that. Eventually we'll get there. It's just, we've had so much change to the code already. And eventually we'll get there. Just, I know how it is. You guys are doing a phenomenal job in the city. The mayor has developed a great team and there's been a lot of success. So it's been great working for the city, watching that happen and being a part of it. So I appreciate it. You guys have any questions?
I had one, what's a VPO on the prior slide? There's like.
Oh, vacant properties, vacant property
Oh,
ordinances.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a
I
call
just
today.
get used to the acronym, so gotcha.
I got a call today on the laundromat and someone's like, I want to buy the laundromat. I mean, guess what? It'd be a perfect laundromat. All the plumbing's in there, the building's structurally sound.
Who knew?
I know, right? And so we're really just how many years we're gonna go and keep our fingers crossed that that works out. So
Yeah.
eventually we'll get there. Thank you, guys.
I had a question.
Any
Yes, sir.
questions? Yes.
Sure. Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I've had some interaction with you recently and I appreciate that. I'd like a status update on 1103 North Edna, if you're able to provide that.
That's going through our attorney. That is beyond my scope. It is now a Superior Court issue. It needs to be warrant of abatement of the Superior Court. So that's been put in the lap of someone beyond me, unfortunately, way above my pay grade. I have all the evidence. I have everything set. All we gotta do is pull the trigger. And that, I think, at one point we discussed it in a meeting here. And I think the mayor said this would require executive session at some point because of the financial burden on the city to go forward with that. So it is in process, but it is beyond, I've done everything within my power to do. Outside of that, it has to go to an abatement.
Thank you.
And I do,
The process is happening.
I absolutely understand your frustration with that property in particular. I have a lot of complaints on it and it is, I would agree, probably the most blighted property in our entire city. So
Has anyone complained recently about the trailer that's parked on the sidewalk now?
no,
On the corner?
I haven't had any recent complaints.
There's a boat trailer or pull behind trailer that's parked on, maybe it's a car trailer.
On the sidewalk?
On the sidewalk, partially on the sidewalk, blocking a part of the sidewalk on the corner there at Caroline and
Sure, we can get the deputies to ticket that because that's a sidewalk obstruction. So that could be something. Because I don't have the power to pull, to tow and impound people's property. It's just,
but you can send a letter out for blocking the sidewalk.
yeah.
Right.
But how many letters am I gonna send to a place at $11 a pop when they've not shown up for court and I've sent them to court 3 times? They're already in collections for 3 different tickets. So
Sure.
it's like, at this point, do I waste more time on it? Because I've got probably 40 hours directly on that case. Or do we let it get handled at the next level? I have to just at some point say it needs to go to the next level. That's where I've been at with it for quite some time. I know these things do take time.
Well, I guess that's the answer.
It's not the answer I'd like to give though.
Not the answer I like to hear either.
Yeah,
Thank you though.
I think, if there is an executive session that's needed, it's something we should move forward on and see where we're at. I mean, if everything's queued up and ready to go and it's just, what's the next step? To take legal action and that's matters of litigation or discussed, privately, and probably anything more we would say about it here would not be appropriate, but I think that we should plan on an executive session soon, something make a note of that, and we will see council's pleasure on the next steps. So we appreciate all your work on that.
Yeah, there's been some pressure from the community as well on Facebook mentioning that property and there was some back and forth about it. People are frustrated and I agree.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
So we should be diligent and continue. Once you've done all your work, we can take the next steps.
Got quite a big case file.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, I did ask, our senior planner, Elise Rodriguez, to give us a good briefing on the fueling station and the swales, since we have signs posted out around town and people like, what does that mean? And what kind of water and what kind of, what do these words mean? So anyway, thanks for giving us a briefing and then we'll go right into our workshop discussion.
Yeah, ultimately, you wanted me to talk more, right? I didn't
Yes.
have enough agenda
Yeah,
items.
you never
tonight.
talk long enough, and so I just wanted you to feel free to
Yeah.
have a reason to say more.
So the first item is the proposed fuel station that's in front of Lake's grocery store. And this project came in originally as a pre-application meeting a few months ago, and those pre-application meetings are really wonderful because it gets everybody at the table at the same time to discuss it. So a couple of the agencies that were invited, in addition to city staff, were Ecology and Department of Transportation. And at that time, the discussion that took place and the follow-up that happened with the site visit from Ecology is that wetlands were not a concern where the actual station is going in. So we have a wetland between 902 and the first driveway there. It also receives runoff from 902, but it's hemmed in by paved surfaces, which basically creates edge of buffer. So the fuel station, post station is on the other side of the driveway, therefore not directly affecting as long as they keep their stormwater on their own side of the driveway. And then there's a wetland over by the railroad, but that is far enough away that neither the wetland nor the buffer is a concern where the fuel station is proposed. Because I know we have had questions about why aren't we going through a critical area review. So since we don't have a critical area review and a fuel station is permitted by right, that means it's allowed in the zone. It's something, a project that's planned for, meaning it's a commercial zone, it's a commercial project, infrastructure is there to handle it. Then only the SEPA review process is done rather than any process that requires, say, a public hearing or coming through yourself or planning commission. And therefore, the SEPA process, so you're familiar with, we put advertisements in the newspaper and the applicant has to put a sign on the site. And in addition, we submit with the state, with Ecology has an online portal that I submit our SEPA determination to, and then I send out an email to all agencies, local and state. So they have the opportunity to review the project and give comments on that. The other part of the role we play is that the city makes a determination of impact. So there's basically three choices. You can say there's no impact or no significant impact. So there's always an impact to everything, but there's no significant impact. Or there's an impact that now that it's been mitigated is not significant. And the third option is, this is a big deal, we're going to need an environmental impact statement. So in this instance, the city issued a determination of non-significance. And then there's a comment period where we receive comment. And this particular project, we haven't received very much. I hear there's a lot of talk on Facebook, but those folks haven't been sending anything into the city. There's not a hearing. So once that comment period finishes, we as the city, we can just uphold the determination that was made, or if we have received information from comments with something that we were not aware of that impacts the project, then we can change that determination essentially to create conditions of approval. So things that need to take place prior to that project being approved. But once the SEPA process is done, then it is just a building permit. So they submit their plans, our building inspector reviews it. In this case, I'll be one of the reviewers. Also, Scott Duncan with Public Works will review it because he's got standards that he's concerned with the project. So that covers how we handle that type of project. So the comment period has just finished. And so the applicant will, I have to look at the determination, look at the comments, and once that's done, then the applicant can submit for building permits. So that's where we're at on that one. The other project is the city's proposed stormwater swales to help clean stormwater before it enters the lake. And you've probably seen signs. There's 7 of them around town, around the lake, plus over off of Campbell and Broad. I think I'm out. I feel like I'm on. It next to Rankin Field. We'll just say that. Whatever that intersection is, there's one over there. And so this, in addition to SEPA, because of the shorelines involved, we have to go through a shoreline review. So that is going to require a public hearing with our planning commission. And the way our shoreline master program is written, it is the planning commission that makes the final decision on that project. So we are in comment period. That one has a 30-day comment period. And people can submit comment ahead of time, or they can attend a hearing and they can speak or they can submit written comment. So everyone is welcome next Thursday, the 27th, 5:30, same place.
And at some point, I want this council to review, the authority of the planning commission. Not that I disagree with anything, they do great work, but it's unusual that the planning commission would have any decision-making authority. They're supposed to be advisory. When, the state shoreline, manager was here a couple weeks ago and we were chatting about that, and she said it's highly unusual that, the planning commission would have decision-making authority. They're not elected officials, so the decisions should lie with elected officials, not appointed people, because that could not be good for the community. It was just an appointment of certain people in favors and whatever. We just want to avoid that appearance, and that elected officials have the policy-making and legislative authority. So anyway, once this decision is done, I want to make sure we're not in the middle of, something significant. But then if we can bring that, to council, to change that, I would really, like you to take a look at that and consider, if that's something you want to do. So the timing, I'll look to you, so that we're not, like I said. Yeah, we don't want to disrupt anything right in the middle. And so finish where we're at, and there's a period in there, that would be great. So, okay, are we ready then? If there's no questions, any questions or
I was
comments
about
about?
to say, I was kind of surprised. I had somebody from a cross-country team stopped and asked me about the gas station. I had never heard about it. I don't go in that way to lake, because I walk into the trail. It's just nice and green right now. I don't know, in the website, it says there's like a lot of numbers, and this is what it, that application's about, but there's 3 of them, and I mean, gas stations are dirty, man. That's groundwater there is super shallow. I don't understand how ecology would just say that's okay. Let's have some spills, have it go in groundwater. Some of those are probably vernal ponds, like they're only fed by rain, but a lot of those swales are gonna be interconnected at like 4 or 5 feet depth. To some extent, we already have gas stations. I'm not super stoked about it. I kind of wish we had known about that one that's potentially a big deal. Spills happen, concrete is not always perfect. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen to what we say is like perfect engineered structures don't always work perfect. That's my comment.
Yeah. So the pre-development, it wasn't that long ago, it was just brought to us, and property owners have a right to try to bring things, and if they can meet all the criteria and we follow all of the rules and check with EPA and they sign off on it, and we really can't prohibit that because we don't like it. Anyway, so that's where we are, and that's why I wanted a briefing, because I know there's signs out there and people are talking, and I don't think that council knew, or a pre-application is moving forward, that SEPA non-significance is out there, and I think that you were CC'd on that. Does the SEPA go, when you do that determination of non-significance, does it go to
At this
council?
time, it does not get sent to council.
Okay, so that might just be a good thing in the future. Don't reply all or reply back, but it's information only. I get those, and so, and was aware of it. So, but anyway, the briefing tonight was for that. So
Yeah, I
you
appreciate that.
understand, where we're at in the process, and, it looks like it's moving forward. So, any other questions or comments about that? And appreciate your comments. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I appreciate swale. Do you think that'd be fun? I think it's important to lake. It's great.
So we're working on it. So now we'll move into our workshop discussion, periodic update, municipal amendments concerning impact fee language, looking at page 4.
Okay, so briefing sheet, as the mayor stated on page 4, we can see that this is a step forward in a 6-step process for amending our municipal code. In July, we discussed the history of impact fees in Medical Lake and the general guidelines set by the state. I'll reiterate that we currently collect 3 types of impact fees for fire, parks, and schools. We will be discontinuing the fire impact fee since it was originally created for the city fire department, and Fire District 3 has not had the opportunity to create a new methodology for setting fees. We will continue the school district fees as is with expectation that the district will devise methodology within the next year and update their fees. But since the park impact fees are in-house, city staff has researched our options and has prepared a recommendation or recommended methodology report that is included in a packet. Before I get to that, please take a look at page 6, which is the new code language for a chapter to replace 1604. So currently we have 4 chapters regarding impact fees. We'll retain the school because that's going to stay in effect as is. But the other thing we're going to remove, and essentially the basic one regarding the impact fees will be replaced within Title 19. And it has the information about what impact fees are, how they're created, how they're collected, how they're used. But it doesn't include all the information that you'll find now, which is all the methodology and the actual fees are in there. So right now, if you look at our fee schedule that gets adopted during budget season, the administrative fees, when it gets to impact fees, it just cites our municipal code, which is a little odd and, forces people to go back and look at another location rather than just stating what those fees are. So continuing on with the methodology that starts on page 9, I will summarize the report and please interrupt any time with questions, but using the 6 steps listed on page 10. So first, determine where growth is likely to occur. At Medical Lake, we have 3 areas that are likely to see significant growth. So those are north of Fox Hollow, the Nike site, and our UGA expansion area. Another is to the southeast. I would refer to it as the Bible Camp property. That's another UGA expansion area. And then on Brooks Road, when we leave town heading north on both the east and west sides of Brook Road, that is part of the city. It's been in the city for 100 years. It has a lot of rock and wetlands, but we're hoping with our new cottage housing possibilities that we might see that area be developed. So those are the 3 major areas. There are, of course, other areas in town that can be developed to a lesser extent. But moving on to the second step, estimating population, if we look at those 3 areas and based on acreage and the allowable density, then these can accommodate 400 plus units in each area. And that translates to a little over 1,000 people based on 2.54 people per household, which is what the Office of Financial Management says that the city of Medical Lake averages. So that's any kind of household, it's an average. Moving on to step 3. Establishing a level of park service to be maintained. So the draft comprehensive plan states that every household should be within a quarter-mile walking distance to a park. So it has already identified these areas as areas that are going to need a park. And if you look at the size of these areas, it makes sense also to fit a park sort of in areas and potentially more than 1 park, but minimum 1 park. In addition, the draft comprehensive plan says that each neighborhood park should have some basic amenities like a play structure, covered areas, seating, vegetation, etc. Step 4, determine land acquisition costs. So this, we use Zillow data because it shows sales of lots in the city of Medical Lake for the last 3 years. Using the size and the sale price, determined that there's an average cost of $7.62 per square foot. Determining cost to build a park, step 5, using vendor information, city staff determined that providing the basic amenities would cost about $562,000 to create a park. If we so neighborhood park does not have a specific designation. It says in the park master plan that it's generally less than an acre for a neighborhood park. But for this exercise, looking at doing a 10,000 square foot park, therefore the cost of the land would be 76,200. Plus the cost of the creating the park, you would get $638,200. So then step 6, allocating costs. If we look at each of these areas and we know that we need at least one park in those 3 areas, and each of those areas have a little more than 1,000 people, just say 1,000 people per this exercise, divide the 638,200 by 1,000, and we get $638 per person to create this park. So then the next is how, if we know how much it is per person, and how are we going to allocate these costs when building permits come in for homes, houses, or apartments, or row houses, or cottage homes, however, like, because our code now has a variety of housing types that can be done. So typically, park impact fees either use dwelling type, like we have right now. We have a single family house, or we have a multifamily dwelling, are the two options, and a fee for each of those. Another option is dwelling size, so the bigger the house, you want to pay. The other option is number of bedrooms. And this is the option that staff is proposing, is recommending. And the reason is we don't have good data for how many people are typically in a household for all these housing types. I can tell you that OFM says our average is 2.54, but they do not provide any breakdown of that. So I can't tell you a single family have this, or multifamily have that, or a row house have that. I don't have that information. So short of hiring a consultant to help us figure out this information, doing it by number of bedrooms seems like the most equitable choice. And then doing one person per bedroom. And we all know houses or apartments vary a lot in how many people are in a bedroom. Generally 1 or 2, maybe you put 3 kids in, but using an average of 1 person per bedroom. Then we can break this down. So the $638, as I say, the fees are set out on page 14. So a studio or 1 bedroom would be $638 fee. 2 bedroom, 1,276, 3 bedroom, 1,915, and it would top out at 4 bedrooms. So even if your house was larger, 2,553. And then if there's group living, it's still just was 638 per bedroom, essentially.
I will say, when we were talking about this, briefing on this, I agree with the bedroom, because it just makes sense. And like typical, like if you're building a house, you have to get a septic tank, they go by bedrooms, like what's the impact? And it's just a good way of estimating that how many people are sleeping there is a good way to kind of calculate, the impact. And then I think that also this is conservative, and so, it keeps it manageable also to go by bedrooms. So anyway, thank you for choosing that. As soon as you gave me the options, said bedrooms, I thought hooray, because it applies in other applications as well, so.
I didn't state previously in the briefing sheet, you can find the current fees. So right now for a single family house, it's $1,210. And for a multifamily, it's $675. So if you compare, for instance, the average house, 3 bedrooms, that would be 1,915 compared to the 1,210 that we have right now. And this hasn't been updated since 2011. And just to give you some perspective.
You compare it to other jurisdictions, this is reasonable.
So tonight is to get feedback, but ultimately recommendation is to accept park impact fee methodology through a resolution in the future, instead of putting it in our municipal code. 2, these projects have to be added to our capital improvement plan. So we need to do that through that process this year. Adopt a proposed park impact fee through the administrative fees that you do during budget season. And then it also says direct staff to review this information annually, which is actually already written into the code language. Because I think it's a really important thing to come back every year. And it doesn't mean you have to change it every year. It means at least take a look at it. Has our economy changed? Has the city changed in a significant way? Should we revisit this, or is it good for another year?
I want to comment also on that you think, oh, here's one more thing that we have to review and do and keep up on, and we know our code is, of years and years and years where things didn't get looked at and they were supposed to be like this code. If we will move the impact fees then to the annual fee schedule that's part of the budget process, that's where it gets amended. So the code just says you'll do it, you'll have a fee, it'll be reviewed annually, and then it points, instead of the fee schedule pointing back to the ordinance, we have the ordinance pointing to the fee schedule, which makes so much more sense. And it's all during our budget process every year, we adopt and update the fee schedule. So I just like that as well. So thank you.
I'm sorry, can we clarify, we're deleting the fire protection impact mitigation or deleting it
That's-
entirely?
So yes, for fire, it was originally created because we had our own fire department. We've still been using that, all 27 years later. So first, the methodology was based on something that doesn't exist, so it's not really appropriate to keep it. We've had discussions with Fire District 3. They're interested in impact fees. But two things. One is they have to determine their own methodology. It's not something the city does. And two, it's greater than Medical Lake, so it's a little more complicated, and hopefully they'll have time to look at it in the future and determine if it's right for them. But at this time, it doesn't seem correct to keep collecting fees for something that doesn't exist in the way it was when it was created. Okay,
Thank you.
Are fire impact fees paid for by the county, like in Temple Building County?
No,
Okay.
no. So right now, Fire District 3 only receives fees through us, which is not very small, or excuse me, not very large. In recent years, we haven't seen a lot of project.
Yeah, I think, to clarify too, the county has the ability to impose impact fees, but they do not currently impose any impact fees.
Oh.
And so, it's a peculiar scenario because Fire District 3 is a subset of the county.
Okay.
The county doesn't have a county-wide scenario, and if Fire District 3 wanted to propose that, to have it happen only in a portion of the county it's complicated.
It's complicated for Fire District 3 that they have one of the largest, if not the largest geographical area in the state. So their impacts go across counties and jurisdictions and all kinds of things. And so for them to come up with their methodology, like we want it right now because we're updating our code, is like, we don't have that. And so that's not their main focus right now. And so we can always add it later if they're like, we want to take advantage of that now. We've come up with a methodology that's fair, equitable across all of our geographical area, and what part of that impacts Medical Lake and how do we decide that is complicated. And they didn't have the bandwidth to do that in this short amount of time. They know that they're being, that it's not going to be included here. So, anything else? Hopefully, anything else on that? Any other questions or anything else that you want to add, Elisa? Okay. That will conclude our workshop. That'll be coming forward then. For an amendment to the Medical Lake Municipal Code, that's removing Title 16 is going away and going over to Chapter 19, 190, and a few other changes. So you'll see that come forward as an ordinance change in future meeting, if not the next meeting. So you can be thinking about that, and then you'll have a couple more bites of the apple as we bring that going for passage. Action items, consent agenda, approval of the August 4th, 2026 minutes, any changes or amendments? To the minutes of August 4th. Okay, entertain a motion if there is one.
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion and second, any discussion? I'm all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? And it's approved, and approval of the August 18, 2026 payroll claims and warrants number 53985 through 53992, and payroll payable warrants number 30384 through 30395 in the amount of $198,414.79, and claim warrants numbered 53993 through 54044 in the amount of $304,585.70.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on payroll and claims and warrants? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that consent agenda is passed. Public hearings, we'll open the public hearing, the periodic update ordinance 1151 concerning subdivisions, starting on page 23. This will be our first read of that ordinance. And I'll open that hearing at 8:05.
Thank you.
So happy with your new clock.
I just wanted to check before we started about quorum for voting, first read of ordinance.
Requires a majority of the entire council, so tonight's, just for the ordinance to move forward, it would require unanimous support of tonight's.
Okay. Thank you for that, and we'll proceed and see where we land there. If we could have a reading into the record of the title, and then is that what we're doing?
I think that's the very, the reading usually is.
Usually does it first. Okay,
Sorry.
however you want to do it tonight. I'm good with it.
Okay, so what you have in ordinance 1151 is the same language that you saw in the workshop on August 4th. It was put into ordinance and it was reviewed by our legal counsel. There were no substantive changes there. On page 23, the briefing sheet, you see a long list of chapters being deleted, replaced, and added. But to summarize, we're essentially deleting the rest of Title 15 subdivisions, putting all of that information into Title 19. And there's no significant changes that are being proposed, no significant policy changes to our subdivision process and standards and criteria. It's a matter of streamlining, making it more usable for staff, the applicants, the public, yourselves. The other thing that's taking place is replacing chapter 1120 with 1140 in Title 11. So that's street development standards. So the chapter 1120 has information about street classifications and some development standards. And the new chapter, once again, easier to use, took out the classifications because the classifications are actually in our recently adopted transportation master plan. So it doesn't need to be in our municipal code. So the planning commission held a public hearing at the July meeting, and using the approval criteria that the council adopted back in April, they evaluated the proposal and determined that the criteria is met, meaning it's consistent with our comprehensive plan, countywide planning policies, and the Growth Management Act. Also, the amendments do not adversely affect land uses or services within the city. Therefore, they did recommend approval, and you can see that staff report following the brief. We have discussed this previously, so I'm going to stop there. Of course, ask questions, and then of course we need to give the opportunity for the public to make comments.
Council.
Can I I know we talked about it, but is chapter 15.08 being replaced with 19 160 in name only. So the definitions are not changing, they're not new definitions like. you
Actually,
said.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all different. So there's a lot of definitions in Title 15. And I went through all of them, like many, just the terms aren't used in the new language, right? So there's no need to have a definition of a term that's not used. Some of the terms are already in Title 19 because they're broader terms. So then, if we look in the ordinance, section 4 on page 43 of the packet, about halfway down the page, you'll see the definitions that are being added to Title 19.
Okay, so they are in there.
So they're here, yeah. The new ones are all listed. So it's not just, yeah, I have to list them, they have to be spelled out or they don't get adopted, yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, that's probably a stupid question, I'm sorry, but if you start getting rid of chapters and then at the end, we end up like missing chapters. So we'll go from like chapter 9 to 12.
So chapters are not typical, I mean,
Right.
yeah, they're not consecutive, that's the correct word. There's always space,
Okay.
right? We purposely number things with spaces so you can come back and add in between.
Oh, it's
Yeah, so there's always spacing.
And as laws become obsolete, it'll just say reserved. So there could be titles that are blank and it will just say reserved,
Oh.
you know, so it'll start off with repealed on this day and then it becomes reserved and blank. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, we talked about this a lot. Thank you for all your hard work.
Any other questions, thoughts, or concerns about this? And then, do we close this and then have the public comment now during the hearing?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah. So anyone online or in the room that wants to comment on ordinance 1151, and the title changes, if you could raise your hand. Going once, twice, online, I see that. So, third call for the online. I don't see any hands. I see one hand in the audience. If you want to go ahead and come forward and give us your name, and your address, for the record, and then, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Wait, I don't know if you're messaging me now, this is a great, I'm glad I came to this meeting, so I have a lot of questions now. Mike Gary, live in Medic Lake, 1040 South Green Gate Lane. I originally came here just to, find out some more information regarding like the fire victims and the grant. And it's, just kind of what the idea is and how it's gonna help the residents of Medical Lake. One thing that was said was something about reimbursement. I don't know if that was city reimbursement or if that's actual like residential.
This conversation has to be specific to this ordinance.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you'll wait, we'll come back and get
What
public
ordinance,
comment.
just next time I have a question about that. I wrote a whole bunch of notes.
So if you want to talk about this code change, but we'll have the public comment periods at the end if you want to talk about something other than, we're in the middle of a public hearing related to amending this.
I thought this was.
Yep, so we'll come back to you. We'll hear it from you in just a minute. Okay, thanks. But anyone here who has a comment about ordinance 1151 and the code changes related to land divisions, that's all we're talking about right now. Anyone online with that or anyone else in the room? Okay, council, we've heard from you. So we'll close the hearing then at 8:13. Okay, and then we didn't read that into the record. If you would do that now, please. Thanks.
You got it. Thank you, Mayor. City of Medical Lake, Spokane County, Washington, ordinance number 1151. An ordinance of the City of Medical Lake, Washington, relating to amendments to Title 1, 15, and 19 of the Medical Lake Municipal Code regarding land divisions.
And you said titles 1 and it looks like title 11.
Excuse me. Yeah, titles 11, 15, and 19 of the Medical Lake Municipal Code regarding land divisions.
Thank you so much. Good. All right, so this is the first read. And as was mentioned already, that because we have a skeleton crew here tonight, we'll see what your pleasure is, council, and ready to entertain a motion.
Move to approve the subdivisions for this 1.51.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there further conversation or concerns or thoughts about that? If not, we can have some discussion. Hearing none, then we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that does pass. Unanimous vote of the board of council president. Thank you so much. There's no executive session. And we have no resolutions moved yet. The ordinance we just passed, no emergency ordinances noted, and no upcoming agenda items noted. You know to reach out to city administrator if you have those. So now we have time for the interested citizen comments. So Mr. Garrett, if you want to come back up, and I'll tell you that this is your opportunity to talk to us. We'll not be answering questions tonight, but we will note those and we can get back to you. But that gives you 3 minutes to kind of get all your thoughts out. And that's how it works. So
I'll be respectful of everybody's time. I know it's
Yeah.
late. I appreciate it.
it's just a rule that you have 3 minutes and you'll hear a little timer go off. That's how the public hearing works, but nothing keeps you from coming back and talking to us outside of this meeting. It's just how we limit that in the business meeting. So, okay.
I appreciate it.
So restarting it then at 8:16.
I'm really glad to hear about the grants. Whoever your grant writer is for winning all those grants for the water treatment. I mean, my gosh, they should get a gold star because I know there's a lot of small communities within Eastern Washington that have a lot of water issues. So the fact that we're able to get that is that's huge. So good on you, whoever that is. Well, like I said, I originally came because just of course, the Spokane fire kind of reignited the community's I guess feelings of what happened a couple years ago, and then the questions of how is the city going to utilize that money? What are the accountability? Where's left right parameters? Where's it going to go? It's going to go to the residents. It's going to go to the city, and in what capacity? Who decides? And what can it, I guess, used for by the citizens of Medical Lake? So I know this is not the forum to do it, but these are just some things that I was hoping to kind of hear about, and this might not be the time for that. I know funds from nonprofits and donations have come to the town, and that was part of some just being a small community. There's no formal survey, but the general consensus who's been helped, and in what capacity has the residents of Medical Lake been helped, and it seems from not a lot, in terms of personal needs, that things that happen. It seems like there's a lot of parameters, if you had insurance, if you make this much money, if you had this done, but for the needs that aren't getting met, that people are still struggling with, there's not a lot of hope for the citizens in the community that we're going to get any kind of relief or any kind of help from things that insurance didn't cover, or the federal government, FEMA or Red Cross or whatever. So those are some of my concerns and concerns of some of the fellow citizens here in town. So I would say from if and I don't know if this city council maybe has nothing to do with it because it is a nonprofit kind of thing, but some type of a clarity of who's been helped and what. I mean, for example, I saw I think it was a very rudimentary budget from 2024. It was $170,000, and out of that, maybe 50,000 was labeled as grants. And I mean, where did the rest go, and how was it accounted for? So, and I could be way off, but it was, like I said, it was a very thrown together kind of budget statement, I guess you could say. So that's a huge concern for myself, as well as a lot of fellow citizens within the town, is what's going to happen, who's going to get it, and what are the left and right parameters. And I was heard that reimbursements are not possible, but I don't know if that was for cities or for residents. If you guys spend it on something, and which I think is great, you guys you put the money forward and you get reimbursed from the federal government with the grant, that's great. But what about the citizens? So
So that's your time, and happy to meet with you and chat some more.
Okay.
I'm going to make just a couple brief statements.
Yes, ma'am.
To kind of direct some of the big things. So one, the Navigator model was just awarded from the county. It's the first contract. No dollars have been spent.
Sure.
That team is supposed to cast a large net and find everybody and they're going case management. When you see navigators out there and they're doing public meetings out there and they're trying to say anybody with Gray and Oregon Road Fire, come and enter in through case management, that's to reassess you. That 40,
A group of people or is it online?
you'll have, their process they'll share. So, anyway.
That's an organization, a navigator's an organization.
It was a grant, it's a contract that was awarded to disaster case managers, okay? And so, they're gonna cast a big net, and so you wanna get into that so that you can be qualified and assessed. This grant funding is the most lenient of grant funds. Reimbursements, who knows? Because all of it is driven by the county. The city has zero say in how that money gets spent. All of the individual needs will be taken care of before any public projects can go forward. Those will come out driven from Spokane County in the form of RFPs or RFQs that say, here's the unmet needs that were identified amongst the group. And then those will become projects. Projects then are awarded to people who can solve that problem. And so it's going to be a long, arduous process. And so not $1 of the 44 million has been given to anybody at this point. Not $1 has gone to an organization or a person, not one. So I just want to make that clear. The unmet needs will be identified. Projects will come out of those identified needs, and the county will decide how those contracts roll out. So those will go out through the HCDAC, which Councilmember Pritchard sits on that. And it's a committee that sends a recommendation to Board of County Commissioners. So just to be clear on the process, because there's so much conversation out there about all these things and the way they happen and how do we know and all of those things. So the only money that the city received as a grant. So we spent about $500,000 in fire recovery response from the minute the Gray Road fire happened. And you remember the pile of shred and all the other things. We got some money to help pay for shredding some of the trees. And so it was dollars we spent. And then I think Innovia helped us cover one bill. The county helped us cover another little bill. So it's just, the narrative is really false out there. And there's nothing. So there's nothing I can do about that except come here and I'm going to tell you, this is how the process works. The city doesn't have money to use from this grant, so it's not how will we use it. We don't have any. If a project were to come up after all of the unmet needs, you'll also see that come out as a public award for a specific thing, and it's going to be fire related. It's not going to be a sports complex and all these other things that I don't know where that came from, but and so how it's used by the citizens, connect with that navigator, let them know your need. They're the ones who make the assessment. They're the ones who are going to find out all the needs out there that turn into projects. So I wanted to just put that on the record. Anybody can come back and listen to that, but that's how the process is going to be going forward. And
so the city county, you guys have no input on like how the county, you know your city better than the county does, right?
So
A citizen.
it's not, right now, the money is for individual assessment needs, people in the county.
Yeah.
That were affected by the Gray and Oregon Road fire. We have no say. The only thing we'll have say about is if there's a public project that were to come up after all, and so that's the difference between an individual project and a public project. And they're gonna say, is there any way we could build back better if there's any money left? And if the city came forward with the project related to fire damage, we could get an award for that. That's the only.
A lot of money left because the parameters are so.
Nobody knows. Yeah, so that's pie in the sky. We can say anything and it doesn't mean anything. We have to go through the process, and over the next 3 years, we're gonna learn a lot. And just watch it and track it and get your facts. From the county or, from the government, but we have no say. We're not part of it.
I understand.
Yeah, so, and that's just important to know. And so just watch, and it's easy to track through the Spokane County Community Development page. That's where everything's gonna happen. All the meetings will be announced. And so just keep your thumb on that. But there's gonna be a lot of outreach and there should be plenty to people reaching out to those who were impacted. So
I think part of my concern was the money that has been donated to, not addition of 44 million, but the money that has been. spent.
Anovia did, put out a complete list of every dollar they spent, from that, and so you can go to their website. So you have to go to who had the money, and they'll tell you where it went. Okay.
So, like, Wilson County Housing and Development does have like a person that they've hired specifically to delegate some money, so you can go talk to them too. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. So, but we appreciate you coming and asking those questions. They're important questions, and we're really happy to help answer
So when is a
those.
good time to talk about the fact this gas station that's going, because that's a.
So we're done for tonight. You're 3 minutes. early. And so, but yeah, come back to another meeting, or you can connect back with the city and,
gas did.
yeah. So anyway, we appreciate everyone being here tonight. Thank you so much. With that,
Any more comments?
I think we have an online.
I didn't see the hand up.
And he,
It's just provided.
It's chat, it's just a written comment. He's already left the meeting, so
Okay.
I will copy that and provide it to you
It'll
guys
become
to
part of the record.
okay, take a look at.
All right. Well, thank you.
Move to conclude that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take
All right.
after there's no. Thank you.